So the today's topic is the concepts of backup and recovery in PostGres. Concept of backup and recovery. Okay, the concepts of backup and recovery. In any other database, we can take two types of backup. One is a logical backup, and second one is a physical backup, right? So first one is a logical backup, and second one is a physical backup. Physical backup. So in Postgres, we can use pg underscore dump. Okay, in use pg underscore dump to and pg underscore dump all. Pg underscore dump and pg underscore dump all. These two are the utilities which we can use to take the logical backup. When I say logical backup, a backing up of a database objects and databases. These are the logical objects, right? So we can use pg underscore dump and pg underscore dump all to take the logical backup, whereas for the physical backups we will be using utility called pg underscore base backup. Okay, pg underscore base backup. Okay, as part of this backup and recovery, first we will be starting with the logical backups. We will be completing all the scenarios including taking the backup and performing the recovery. Once this is done, we will be going to discuss about the physical backups. Okay, we'll be going to discuss about the physical backups. Okay, now let's start with the pg dump. Okay, now let's start with the logical backups. Okay, under logical backups, what we are going to discuss, under logical backups we are going to discuss about how can we take a backups using pg underscore dump. Okay, so pg underscore dump is a utility. Pg underscore dump is a utility like psql, okay, or pgctl to take the backups. Okay, to take the backups of a logical objects in the postgres cluster. Okay, so pg underscore dump take the backups in two formats. Okay, pg underscore dump takes the backups in two format. One is a plain format. Okay, one is plain format, and second one is we call it as a formatted backups. Okay, second one is a formatted backups. These are the two ways through using pgdump we can take the backups. In the formatted backups, we have three types of backups. One is a tar backup, second one is a custom backup, custom format backups, and third one is a directory format backups. Directory format backups. We will be discussing each in with the example. That's okay. Okay. So for now, what you need to remember, pg underscore dump. Okay. For now, what you need to remember, pg underscore dump is a utility which can be used to take the backups. Using pg underscore dump, we can take a backups in a plain format, or you can take a backups in a formatted way. Okay, when I say plain format, okay, if the backup is in plain format, then you need to use PSQL utility for restoring. So then we need to use PSQL utility for restoring the backups. Okay, 1 minute, we can use PSQL utility to restore the backups. To restore the backups, what you need to use, you need to use a PSQL utility. So what does it mean by plain format? When in the plain format, right, you can open the file. Okay, if it is a plain format, just you can open the backup file. Okay, you can open the backup file and you can read the contents of the file. Okay, you can open the backup file and you can open the backup file and read the contents. Okay, this is a plain text format. Okay, just you can, it is in a human readable format. Okay, so just simply we can open the file and we can read. In case of formatted backups, okay, whenever you take a backup in a formatted way using pgdump, what is the utility that we need to use, right? We need to use pg underscore restore utility. So we need to use pg underscore restore utility to restore the backups which we have taken using pgdump. Okay, so the name itself says that the formatted backups. Okay, we can't open. Okay, we cannot open and read the contents. We cannot open and read the contents of the formatted backups. Okay, we cannot open and read the contents of a formatted backups. And the next thing that we are going to discuss is, okay, how can we take the plain formats. Okay, how can we take backups using pg dump. How can we take the backups using pg dump? How can we take? So if you want to take the backups, okay, what is the command that we are going to use? We are going to use a utility called pg underscore dump. Okay, pg underscore dump. Okay, so rest of the things are similar to what we are passing for the PSQL command line. So what are the necessary things that are required to connect to any database? We should have a username and password. We should know on which port the database is running, what is the data, or what is the objects that you want to take the backup, and what is the IP address or host name on which the database server is running, right? So you need to pass all these things. Okay, hyphen u capital U refers to username. Okay, hyphen u username, and hyphen p port number, hyphen p port number, and hyphen h, it refers to host name slash IP address, and hyphen d refers to DB name. Okay, hyphen d refers to DB name. If you want to take a backup of a database, then you need to mention hyphen d. If you want to take a backup of a schema, then you need to mention some different options that we will be discussing. Okay, and if you want to take a particular table, then we need to have some different. Then we will be having a separate option to take the table backup. Okay, hyphen d the database name, and hyphen f the file backup file location, hyphen f the backup file location. Okay, pg dump, by default pg dump takes a backup in a plain format. Okay, by default, if you don't specify any formatted options, okay, by default pg dumps take the backup in which format? Plain format. Okay, if you want to take a formatted backups, then you need to pass one more parameter which we will be discussing it in a while. Okay, so what are all the necessary, okay, whatever the necessary parameters or arguments that we are passing for PSQL, those parameters are still required by the pg dump. Okay, pg dump hyphen capital U username, hyphen p port number, hyphen h host name or IP address, hyphen d database name, and hyphen f backup file location. These are the arguments that we are going to pass. Okay, and if you want to take a schema backup, the option varies, and if you want to take a table backup, there is a different option. If you, and we can use pg underscore dump to take only DDLs backup, which means only structures we can take. That we will, for that we will be having a separate options, or we can take only data. So there are lot of options are there in pg dump, which we are going to explore in the next session. For now, what we are going to discuss is, we are going to discuss about how pg dump is being used to take backups. Okay, if you don't specify any format, then pgdump by default will take it in a plain format. So this is about the pgdump. So now what so we have also discussed about, there is another option called pg underscore dumpall. Okay, there is another option called pg underscore dumpall, right? So when we will use pg dump and when we will use pg underscore dumpall. Okay, pg underscore dump versus pg underscore dumpall. Okay, pg underscore dumpall. Okay, so in pg underscore dump we can take the backups in plain format, comma, we can take backups in plain format and formatted way, both. Okay, but in pg underscore dumpall we can take only backups in a plain format. Only plain format backups are allowed. And one more thing, okay, so in postgres, okay, users, okay, in postgres users and table spaces are cluster level objects. Okay, they are independent of the database. Okay, will database contains users? No. In postgres is strict no, that databases doesn't contain any users. Okay, databases doesn't contain any users. Okay, so the schema, the instance or postgres cluster contains the users and table space. That's why we call users and table spaces as a global objects. Okay, global objects means they are independent of the database, they are independent of the database, they are at the cluster level. Okay, so using pg underscore dump we cannot take global objects backup. Okay, we can't take backup of the global objects, we cannot take the backup of the global objects, like we cannot take the backup of the global objects like users, comma, table spaces. Okay, we cannot take the backup of a global objects like users and table space. Okay, using pg underscore dump, pg underscore dump is used to take backup of, okay, pg underscore used to take backup of global objects, backup of global objects. Okay, and one more thing is using pg underscore dump we can take a separate db backup. Okay, we can take a separate db backup. When I say separate db backup, what does it mean? So Postgres is a cluster which contains one or more databases. Okay, using pg underscore dump you cannot take backup of all the databases at a time. Okay, you cannot take backup of all the databases at a time. So if you want to take a backup of a one database, you need to pass the argument -d database name. But if my cluster contains if my cluster contains 10 databases, it is impossible or it is not possible to take a backup of all the databases in a single shot. Okay, but using pg underscore dump all we can take, okay, we can take backup of all the databases. We can take backup of all the databases. We can take the backup of all the databases, but the limitation is we cannot take backup of a particular database. Okay, we cannot take backup of what? We cannot take backup of particular database. We cannot take a backup of particular db. So this is the difference between pg underscore dump and pg underscore dump all. Simple. Pg underscore dump can take a backup of both in the plain format as well as formatted way, and using pg underscore dump all we can take only backups in plain format. Okay, pg underscore dump will not take the backup of a global objects. What does it mean by global objects? In Postgres we have users. Okay, in Postgres we have users and table spaces. These are the global objects. Using pg underscore dump you cannot take the backup of a global objects. Okay, but using pg underscore dump all you can take the backup of a global objects. And one more point is pg underscore dump. If you want to take a backup of a particular database you can use pg underscore dump. Suppose let's say my cluster contains 20 to 30 databases. I can't take backup of all the databases together in a single shot, whereas pg underscore dump all, okay, pg underscore dump all will be used to take the backup of all the databases at a time. It is not, and it will not allow you to take a backup of a particular database. It will not allow you to take a backup of a particular database. And one more point that you need to remember is pg underscore dump all is not supported in rds. Okay, aws rds postgres. What does it mean by aws rds postgres? Rds is a relational database service hosted by Amazon. Okay, in RDS Postgres pg dump all is not allowed. Okay, we don't have a permissions to call or use the utility called pg underscore dump all. Okay, this is very important point. Okay, so in RDS Postgres we cannot make use of pg underscore dump all. Okay, why we are not able to use this pg underscore dump all in RDS Postgres? Because so what pg underscore dump all will do, as we have discussed, it will take the backup of a global objects. When I say global objects, it is a backup of users, right? So when it is taking a backup of users, it will try to back up the passwords as well. It dumps the statements like create user, username with password, like this it is going to take. But in RDS Postgres, okay, no one is having an access to a table called pg underscore auth id. pg underscore auth id. This is a table which contains the information about the passwords. Okay, which contains the information about the passwords. But in RDS, even a super user is not having access to this table. That is the reason why pg underscore dump all fails with an error saying there are no permissions on pg underscore auth id. This is very important point that you need to remember. Okay, this is the difference, basic differences between pg underscore dump and pg underscore dump all. Now next thing is what are all the options. Okay, what are all the different options that we are going to pass to pg underscore dump to take the backup. Okay, if you want to take the backup of a database you need to use -d is to take the backup of a database. Okay, if you want to take a backup of a schema then what you need to pass -n. Hyphen n is to take the backup of a schema. Hyphen n is to take the backup of a schema. If you want to take a backup of a particular table, then hyphen small t. Hyphen small t is used to take the backup of a table. Okay, hyphen small t is used to take the backup of a table. Then there is another option called hyphen capital N. Okay, let's say, okay, about all these options, okay, we will be discussing in detail in the next session. Okay, but today my goal is to introduce, okay, my goal is to introduce all these options to you, so that tomorrow we, in the next session, we will be seeing about each option in detail. Okay, hyphen capital N. Okay, let's say my database contains 10 schemas: schema 1, schema 2, schema 3, schema 4. Likewise, we have 10 schemas. Okay, I want to take backup of all schemas except a particular schema. Then we will use hyphen capital N. Exclude the particular schema. Exclude particular schema. Particular schema. Exclude particular schema. Then there is another option called hyphen capital T, which refers to exclude particular table. Exclude particular table. Then hyphen f, hyphen small f, hyphen capital F refers to format. Okay, hyphen small f, capital F refers to format. Hyphen small f refers to, hyphen small f refers to backup file location. Hyphen small f refers to backup file location. And there are two more options. One is hyphen s. Hyphen s is to take DDL backup. Hyphen s is to take the backup of a DDLs. And hyphen a, hyphen small a is used to take the backup of only data. Backup of only data. These are all the different options. Okay, these are all the different options that are available to take the backup using pgdump. About all these options, okay, about all these options we will be discussing in the next session in a detailed format. Okay, pgdump will take these options to take the backup. Okay, if you want to take a backup of a database, then you need to pass the required parameter. If you want to take a backup of a schema, then you need to pass a required parameter. If you want to take a backup of a particular table, there is a separate argument that you need to pass. Okay, that we will be seeing it in a next session. And one more thing, okay, and one more thing that you need to remember is, when if you don't specify, okay, if you don't specify any format, okay, if you don't specify any format, pgdump will take the backup in which format? Plain format. Plain format. If the backup is in plain format, then you need to use a PSQL utility. If you want to take a backups in a formatted way, if you want to take a backups in a formatted way, then pg underscore restore, pg underscore restore will be used to take the to restore the backups. Okay, so first in our sessions, first we will be discussing about the plain format backups. Using plain formats, I will be covering all the scenarios starting from database ending with the table. Okay, we will be taking all the scenarios of taking the backup, and we will be covering all the scenarios of restoring the backups. Okay, once that is done, we will be entering into the formatted backups. There also we will be exploring the different options that we have in PostGres, and we will be exploring all the ways to take the backups using formatted way. And what is, and as I said, we have tar format, we have directory format, and we have a custom format. We will be going to discuss about the differences between each one, and we will be going to practice all the possible scenarios through these formatted backups. And we will be also restoring these backups which we have taken using pg underscore restore utility. Once we are done with this, we will be discussing about the pg underscore dump all. So I'm winding up the session for today, and tomorrow we'll be start exploring the options for pg dump.